welcome to episode 19 of PauseCast. It is Thursday, November 10th, 2016. I am Jessica Alouette, and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Mark Henner, I use he, him. Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Before we begin the show today, I want to put something out here. Yesterday, if you don't follow American politics, Donald Trump was voted in as President of the United States. And this is a dangerous situation for a lot of people. And I want to say, before we begin the show, it's a absolutely terrible situation, and I absolutely support everyone who is out there protesting, out there fighting. And I want to be a space for you where you can come and relax. We can talk about video games, and we can keep enjoying the things that we love while fighting for what we believe in.
Seconded. And
without further ado, we can begin the show by asking Mark what he's been playing this week.
Up until last night, it had been nothing. But yesterday afternoon, brilliant timing, since during the day, while stuff was still undecided, I was trying to avoid all the election things. The copy of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2 that I'd ordered from overseas arrived. So I played a lot of that last night, and a little bit more when I got home from work today. And it's been scratching that itch that I had. So although I've only had it for like an evening and a bit, I just saved before we started recording, and the timestamp is over 7 hours. So I've been playing a fair bit of that.
And how's that been treating you?
It's actually really familiar because a lot of the music is the same as the first game. So, when you spend like a couple of 100 hours in a game, even when it was many, many years ago, as soon as you hear that music, you know what the next beat is, everything like that, it's very familiar. So that's really nice.
Yeah, definitely.
It definitely feels like they've taken what was good in the first game and kept it, and then added on some extra cool things. So I'm really enjoying it so far. They've fixed a couple of things that I think were a little annoying in the first game, which I'll talk about a bit later. But so far I'm really liking the new additions. And the old stuff that I was expecting and hoping for as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a little bit of reading on Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yep.
A2 is what this is.
Yep.
And apparently the music, several compositions were taken from the scores of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance and Final Fantasy 12.
That would make sense.
Well.
Yeah, I hadn't recognized some as thinking, oh, that's from 12, although I have played through 12. But they share a little bit. So there's several Final Fantasy games that are all set in a world called Ivalice. And although these games aren't all entirely congruous with each other, they share a lot of stuff in common, like the character races that are in the world.
There's actually a cancelled one that would have existed in this world as well.
Yeah?
Yeah, Final Fantasy Fortress.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one. I know that, Tactics Advance 2, 12, and I don't really want to call it 12-2, but that offshoot, I think, was called Revenant Wings or something. I haven't played it.
Yep,
but that was also set in Ivalice.
It was a DS game.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't played it, so I know it exists.
There's also Final Fantasy Tactics The War of the Lions, which was a PSP release.
Oh, I don't know if I knew about that one.
It exists.
Might see if I can find it, since I've still got my cracked PSP.
You also have... oh, no, you don't have a Vita, do you?
No.
I'm the one with the Vita.
You're the one with the Vita, yeah. How could you forget? You're the only person in the world who owns a Vita.
This is true. I stole Sony's prototype, and now I'm the only person in the world with a Vita.
I still think you're the only person in the world who's ever owned a GameCube as well.
I still think that's a weird thing that I
don't know.
maybe
it's just me that I never knew people who owned one.
But I mean, like, that's fair, but it's, like, mind-boggling to me that you did not know, like, you didn't know anybody who owned a GameCube. They were everywhere
And then it just kind of
when
skipped
I
me.
was, like, when I was in Canada.
I don't know
Like,
if it skipped me or skipped New Zealand or what. But
I
I
don't
just saw someone
know.
climb over a fence out my window.
Oops.
Oh no, it's alright, they're getting a basketball.
Um, but like seriously, GameCubes used to be everywhere when I was in Canada. Like you could go to church and they would have a GameCube with Smash Bros on it.
There was a kid at my school who owned a PlayStation, and his mum volunteered at the after school care, so everyone would always be playing his PlayStation. He had to wait his turn. It was so sad for him.
Also, I did some quick research real quick. You can buy Final Fantasy Tactics, The War of the Lions for $16.
Yeah, but then I'd break my streak of never having bought a PSP game. But I should if I'm going to get it. But anyway, I'll settle.
I can,
I've got the one to scratch my tactics itch for now. Anyway,
yeah, and I can get it on my Vita, so it'll be super
is it
cool.
newer or older than A2? Because I know that this is about 8
It
years
is
old.
older. 2007.
Oh, sorry, because PSP was out for some time before the DS, wasn't it?
Correct. It was like the big thing. Actually, there's not that big a gap between the release of Grimoire of the Rift and War of the Lions.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's
Considering it's the same
about a
franchise,
year.
but across different equivalent platforms.
Yeah, it's the Final Fantasy game was released in 2008. Or sorry, A2 was released in 2008, and then this was 2007.
So they went from Tactics Advance on the Game Boy Advance Nintendo console to War of the Lions, which was PSP, a Sony console, and then back to Nintendo for Tactics Advance A2
Remember,
on
most of the
DS.
mainline entries in Final Fantasy have historically been on Sony consoles.
Yeah, it's just strange for this one to jump Nintendo, Sony, Nintendo.
It's also strange for 15 to be jumping to Xbox One all of a sudden.
Yeah, I suppose.
And for every Final Fantasy game to be on PC too.
Well, just about everyone. There are still some that haven't made it, right?
12. That's it. That's the last one that hasn't made it. 12 and 15 are the last Final Fantasies. Both the online ones are on there.
Well, they
every
they
other.
always were, weren't they?
I don't know if I believe it's 11.
Yeah, 11 has been, because I played it once years ago,
Okay.
and it was on PC then.
Neat.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's
Now,
right. The 6 remake has got crappy new graphics. Sorry, I was thinking there's 6 on it. I've never played that in a ROM. Anyway, I keep talking. What have you been playing this week?
I have something for you actually first before we go any further.
Okay.
Just like a piece of news I think you will appreciate a lot.
Hmm?
Overwatch. Do you have any interest in trying that out at all, really?
I like watching from afar, but it's not my kind of game in terms of playing. Just the competitive first-person shooter thing isn't me. But I really like what they're doing with the just really cool character design and having the fan community.
Well, if you want to check it out, or if anybody wants to check it out, next weekend, from the day of recording, that is the weekend of the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st, probably, of November, Overwatch is having another free weekend on PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
Oh, neat. Is that kind of a celebration of their new character or something?
The new character isn't publicly out yet.
But will it be out for the free test or something though?
Nope.
Okay.
They're just doing another. They're doing another round of free weekend,
Cool.
which honestly we could use.
Mhm.
We need some good news.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you've been interested in Overwatch at all for any reason, I think it's worth checking out, even if you don't know if it's going to be your thing, as it turns like it might turn out to be your thing. That was how it worked for me. And it's free. Why not?
Free is always nice.
Free is always nice. This week, in addition to Overwatch, though, I've also been playing some Rocket League,
Mm-hmm.
which has been fun to get back into. It was interesting, actually. Rocket League still has an active season going on that I partially participated in, but I haven't played it in like a couple months. So when I came back, I was prompted, hey, just so you know, your ranking has you've stagnated in ranking because you haven't played for a while. You have to play a couple placement matches to get re-ranked,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is really kind of a neat system. I redid my placements. I placed higher than I was earlier.
Oh, cool.
So
So you haven't lost it.
I haven't lost my touch. I also won 5 matches of Overwatch last night, which was really good.
Nice.
Especially considering that it was while slightly inebriated. And that's just how I play Overwatch now, apparently.
Your secret weapon.
My secret weapon. My secret weapon is that I'm always drunk. Not true, actually. And also, I didn't get drunk last night either. It was just slightly inebriated. But it was good. I've been really enjoying the competitive modes of those games. I am excited by their new hero and the competitive changes that are coming, the quick play changes that are coming, and the arcade mode, which the more I hear about that arcade mode, the more I am excited about it. So, a lot of good stuff coming to games that I love. Mafia 3 just got a big patch today as well.
That'll be mostly bug fixing, I guess, since it's so new.
Actually, it's got a bunch of outfits that you can customize the protagonist with.
Oh, it's interesting to see them putting out new content so soon after release.
Yeah, it's just when we were still in the pre-launch phase, they already had a plan out. Hey, we're doing here's what the season pass will contain.
Right.
We already have this planned, and here's what we're doing is free updates. We couldn't get this in at launch, but we have this plan as post-launch content. So you
right,
can come
so it was
back
already in the works.
Yeah, it was already in the works.
I suppose DLC usually is when a release comes anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, for those who don't know, DLC is typically production on that is typically started months and months before a game's actually released. Because by the time you've released a game, most of the work that's gone into it at that point has been kind of doing patches and bug fixes. And there's plenty of time to get another set of story stuff done without the game having been out at all yet. There's months and months where the writing team isn't necessarily doing anything.
Yeah, I suppose they don't need to do much on the bug fixing side of things.
No, they really don't. So production on DLC starting months and months before a game has released is not an uncommon practice.
Well, that can be easy to forget about.
It can be really easy to forget about, especially if you especially if you don't know too.
And if it's unannounced before the release.
Yeah, a lot of a trend I've seen among gamers is that they tend to think, oh, this DLC is being announced right after they're being announced right after launch. They're doing money grabbing. Ugh. It's not true. The production on that started months and months before. They knew exactly what they wanted out of it going into it, so they could be smart about it. Which can make the first DLC a little bit rough, actually. If you look at Borderlands 2 and its season pass of expansions.
Were any of them really sizable enough to call expansions? From what I've seen, it's got a lot of small bits of DLC.
All of them were definitely sizable enough to be called expansions.
Really? Is it just that there's that many that I've assumed they're small?
Yeah,
okay.
There is. It's got 4 separate campaigns.
Well, I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah.
I thought they were here's a new area to go to and a couple of side quests and that sort of thing.
No, there's a couple of those. They're what's called the Headhunter packs.
Right.
Those are a bunch of seasonal. Oh, look, you can go to this area and it's got a Christmas theme and it's kind of one big new zone. And it ends with a raid boss.
Right.
And that's what all of those DLCs were, and they're really cool. But there's like 4 major expansion ones,
I didn't know that.
and they started out pretty rough for a
Right.
lot of people. But by the time they were hitting the end of like the DLC, they were becoming better and better, and people were liking them more and more because they were finding out, oh, we actually need to focus on this area of the game. So in Borderlands 2, that was the characters. So as they built up those next DLCs after that first kind of rough one, they made it more and more character focused, and they gave a lot of life to, say, Mr. Torgue.
The explosions guy.
The explosions guy, yeah, he got a lot more personality and like interesting stuff going on in his campaign. Tiny Tina. Tiny Tina got like this huge D&D game that she was running, and it was infused with a lot of her personality, and it expanded on her character so much more. And those DLCs were reviewed by people to be kind of their favorites.
Neat. Right.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot better than I had wrongly assumed about it then. Actually, speaking of new content, I'm kind of excited about all the new Diablo 3 stuff that's been announced.
Ooh, yeah, let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, typically each time a new season comes around, which I think is every 3 months, typically I'll pick it up and play through another character with my flatmate. And at one point they added like a couple of new regions to go to, and it was like nice to have new content, but didn't make a noticeable difference. But now there's a couple of sizable things they're adding. One is they're making a sort of retro dungeon to celebrate 20th anniversary of Diablo 1, where like you can have a pixelated view, and like Diablo 1, you're just going down and down and down at the same level, and you can only move in 8 cardinal directions, and it's got its own loot and stuff. And also quite neat is they're adding a new / old class, the Necromancer, which was a Diablo 2 class, and it's going to be adapted, made slightly different, into Diablo 3 as well. It's kind of cool to see new content coming like that. And I think they've announced a couple of other things as well, and everything except for the new class is free. The new class is going to cost something, I'm not sure what.
Yeah, they haven't announced any pricing on that. Like, it's fair enough that they're charging for it. It really is. It's a non-trivial amount of effort to put that in and try and balance it.
The fact that every new piece of content they've added since the expansion, which was now ages ago, has been free makes it a little grating. But yeah.
It's a 4.5-year-old game. That they're continuing to even support it is... It's nice.
I mean, it's come a long way
it's
since it
certainly
first
not
came out.
required.
When it first came out, there was a lot of trouble with it that they've subsequently fixed. It's a much better game now than it was on release.
Yeah. And there was a lot of stuff that people really didn't like about Diablo 3 at launch. That real money auction house was not a huge hit, I would say.
Yeah, that really messed with a lot of things in the game, including just microtransactions being bad for that sort of thing as well. But there was also stuff to do with loot generation that they ended up improving and stuff like that.
It's been interesting to me how much kind of seemingly better Overwatch has done microtransactions, both being kind of Blizzard games. And it's kind of allowed Overwatch to sustain itself and sustain its development, and it probably will for a long time to come.
I don't know if Diablo could do as much with that. I mean, they've had some exclusive cosmetic stuff for pre-orders and whatnot. But given the game is about loot, and when you change your loot, your character looks different. I don't know. I'd be kind of annoyed if they had microtransaction only cosmetic stuff.
See, for a second, I was thinking that like it might have had an appearance slot, kind of like the Division, where you could actually like just maintain stuff in there.
You already have that.
Your character would always look the same.
You already have that. You can what's called transmogrify your gear to make your helmet look like a different helmet and stuff like that. And it just costs
Okay.
in-game gold, which honestly is plentiful. Like I find it hard to spend. And you
Yeah.
can dye them as well. So like the only thing to do with unlocking that is like you can't make it look like a certain legendary item, for example, until you've found that item, that kind of thing.
Right.
But once
Okay.
you've found stuff, you can always go and make your helmet look like this, your shoulders look like that.
Okay. Neat.
Hmm. And they've got some other things like pennants and wings, which so you can supposedly find in drops now, although I haven't. The other way I've seen them given out is as seasonal rewards. They
Right.
might have some microtransaction stuff there. I don't actually know because if they did, I
Hmm.
wouldn't look.
It's weird. I am gonna probably be starting D3 at some point or another. And I like seems like a good enough time to pick it up. It just dropped in price.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it went from 40 USD for the game and its expansion
Hmm.
to 30. So solid 25% discount, and
What
it's permanent.
what does that translate to in New Zealand dollars, roughly?
Roughly, it went from 60 to 40,
Okay, cool.
maybe 45-ish.
Hmm.
So it's a like I said, non-trivial price drop. Uh, it'll be nice to get into, I reckon.
Yeah, you should pick it up when the next season starts. We'll play a season together.
Heck yeah.
We might have a party of four
Um,
actually, because your partner's into it as well, right?
yeah, and I might be getting one of my other partners into it as well.
Oh,
So
then that things get tricky once you have more than four people because I don't think you can have a party of more than four. My flatmate's into it
that
as
would
well.
that would be oh right now that's five, huh?
Yeah,
Hmm.
because the fun bit is getting up to level 70 altogether.
Right. Okay.
After that, it doesn't matter quite so much if one person's further than the other. Although, if you get a really good set of gear, you can really outpace someone else. It's still fun though.
Fair enough. Um. So have you played or heard anything else terribly exciting this week?
The only thing I've played is Tactics A2. In terms of what I've heard, I think I, I don't think I've had any other video game news that's caught my eye in the last week. The
Mm.
news has been kind of been flooded by American politics, honestly.
Yeah. And like we addressed that. The show's not really about that.
Yeah,
So we're gonna try and keep it out of that zone. It is the danger zone.
that's what Tactics A2 was for as well. Let me ignore all that.
We need to escape the danger zone. Um, on a highway, probably.
But yeah, listen, let me talk more about Tactics A2 because it's
Yeah,
really
let's.
scratching my tactics itch. It's really nice. So for anyone who's played a tactics game like XCOM or Tactics Advanced, or something, basically you've got a bunch of units that move around on a grid and attack other units, and generally it's until all the other units lose all their hit points. Cool, that's fairly simple. They do it in some different ways, like XCOM. Every character gets two actions. You can use those to move or shoot, and everyone on the same team has their turn, and then the other team, everyone has their turn, and you alternate like that. Tactics A2, like the one before it, each character has their own individual turn based on their speed, so you can alternate or have like three of one team and then two of another team and stuff go.
So is
So
that kind of like the active time battle system in Final Fantasies?
yeah,
'Cause that's
it kind of
determined
is.
by your speed.
It kind of is, except it's turn based. It's pretty similar in that respect to Final Fantasy X actually, because that was turn based, but again, the time it took to do stuff depended on the character and what they were doing as well. So some actions take more or less time. In Tactics A2, you can wait, which means you don't take an action, or you don't move, or you don't do either, and your next turn will come around sooner.
Right. Okay.
Um,
So it's very similar to a Fire Emblem if you have played that.
I haven't played it in long enough that I've forgotten some aspects of it.
Yeah, there is a wait function. I
Right.
do remember it.
Okay. Yeah. Um, the big thing about the tactics games is so there are several races that each of your characters can be. Humes, which is humans. Um, Probably going to pronounce some of these weirdly because you've only ever seen it written down.
Mm.
Banga, which are like lizard people, yellow lizard people.
Mm-hmm.
Vera, which are rabbit ladies. Um, Numao, which are basically anthropomorphized Eeyores, but happier. And Moogles, which possibly need no introduction, but they're kind of like little fuzzy rabbity toy things with pom-poms on their heads.
I very much enjoy the Vera as well. They are cute as
They,
heck.
they are. It's cool. And each character also has a job, like soldier or white mage or whatever. The jobs available depend on your race and also how many abilities you've learned. So, for example, you'll start off, Humes can be soldiers, and once you've learned a soldier ability, now you can also be an archer or a thief. And
Right.
outside of battles, you can change jobs like for free. Doesn't matter so long as you have access to it. Um, and then the skills you learn are based on the equipment you have selected, you have equipped, and you earn points as you do quests and fill up the bar on that equipment. So, like you might equip a short sword that teaches the soldier first aid skill. So, if you have that equipped while you're a soldier, and then you earn 100 ability points, you've now mastered that skill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really like the system. It feels really cool to have characters around for a long time, and then suddenly they've got this huge array of abilities to choose from. So you select it so that they have like whatever class they are, they've always got access to that one's abilities, and you select another set of abilities that they'll have. So they might be an archer who also has thievery abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And the more abilities you learn, the more classes open up to you, so you can learn more advanced skills and stuff. And I think it's a really cool way of progressing characters also without locking them into stuff, because at any point you can decide that your badass sniper is actually going to be a green mage from now on. And
Do you
as
want to know
far as I
what
know, they're not
this?
penalized by it.
Do you want to know what this reminds me of?
That
Reminds me of Skyrim.
yeah, that kind of
This progression
semi-classless, you
system
can be
sounds like
anything.
Skyrim.
Yeah, it is a bit like Skyrim and Elder Scrolls games, how they kind of had at any point your battle mage can start equipping heavy armor and waving a sword around. Um, yeah,
And
yeah,
then still be a battle mage, also.
yeah. So I don't know for sure, and I don't want to know, because if I find out the bad answer, it will change how I play the game in a way that'll make me not enjoy it as much. But I don't know if a character's stats depend on whether they leveled up as a soldier or as a thief, or if it's just they're a level 13 thief or what. I'm hoping it's the latter, because that means that you can change really for free and you don't need to worry about having a character that's now permanently slow because you didn't realize. It might be that.
Right.
I don't know. I haven't found it a problem at all. Um, but yeah, it's really cool to have characters that have been around for a long time and you've built up. But there are some things that are carries over from the other game which bug me a little bit. There's really nice portrait art for each character, for example. But instead of it being consistent for that character, it's just, this is the portrait art for a Vera Archer. And if you change them from an Archer to a Green Mage, the character portrait changes to that as well, and it looks like a different person. And
Mm-hmm.
I can totally understand why they did that. It's a little jarring when you're trying to keep a consistent character in your head. Um, Also, the fact that they rarely show character names, unlike in XCOM, for example, where it shows over when they select them, means that the
Mm-hmm.
screen at the end where it's telling you who's leveled up and stuff, I'm usually like, well, I have no idea who that is, because you never look at their names. It's just they're the Moogle or whatever. Um, One thing that happened in the first Tactics Advance game is you would get a whole lot of new recruits trying to join your group all the time. And this would keep the average level of your group down if you accepted them all, which would keep the average level of all your enemies down as well. So you'd always be fighting stuff lower level than you. Whereas that hasn't happened in this one for me yet. It also looks like you've got far fewer places available in your party. So I think
Mm.
that's a good thing. At least you focus a bit more on the characters that you do have. I'm also
One thing. Oh,
I'm also a little annoyed that there are a couple of races in this game that weren't in Tactics Advance, but then not actual. They don't seem to come into fights.
mm-hmm.
And when I first saw them in a cutscene, I was like, "Oh, cool! There's going to be like new classes and stuff for them." But it looks like they're only in cutscenes, not
Womp
actual fighting characters.
womp.
So that was pretty disappointed when I noticed that because there was, it just looked like they would have some cool classes and stuff. It seems not. Either that, or I'll run into it a few hours down the track. But 7 hours in, that still hasn't come up. But yeah, so far the changes um, are really nice as well. So I mentioned that you're not getting as many new recruits, which means the average level isn't balked. It actually matches what you're using. Also, they've got much more interesting quest goals. I mean, previously it was pretty much always defeat all enemies. You still get those. There's that are fairly simplistic. Defeat this one enemy, and that's the boss enemy. But there are others that are like I did one earlier where I had to go and it was almost a riddle. There's a group that's supposedly like really into eating weird foods. So they said, "Hey, we want you to go get us some food. It needs to what was it like have white fluffy fur." And be enough for two people to eat, where one monster's one serving. And then they throw me into a field of magic rabbits where some of them have white fur and some of them have golden fur. And I had to kill two with white fur and nothing else. And then talk to an NPC that was in there. And the first time I didn't realize this, so I just killed everything and then talked to the NPC and it was like, this is way too much, you failed. But the fact that they have some quests with those odd goals is really kind of cool. Another one was you need to have someone who can use a mace. So I changed my Vera character to be a green mage who equips hammers and maces, and went and sent them, and they said, "Okay, you're going to come with me for 10 days." Okay, and then 10 days later they came back successful. Whereas I'm pretty sure if I sent anyone else, they would have failed because they couldn't equip a mace. But it's quite nice. It's no longer just kill all these things. You've got some much more interesting ones as well. I'm liking it.
One thing that I like. One thing that I am noticing is, it's pretty similar to another game with Final Fantasy Tactics, Fire Emblem. You mentioned that reclassing of all your characters.
Yep.
Fire Emblem lets you do that as well.
That's not for free though, is it?
No, it requires the use of an item.
Yeah.
It's got me thinking about it though, because I thought for a second in Fire Emblem Fates, the newest Fire Emblem game, you could do that for relatively free, but no, it's just that item is way more plentiful.
Right.
What I kind of like about that system though is it allows you to level for a bit, right? Then change classes, but your level is reset to 1, but you keep all your stats.
Yeah, that's quite different. That's quite different to this. But yeah, because there's one character, right, who they're a really crappy class, but it has a higher max level or something, so they can get really good. Is that right? The villager guy, Donald or something?
Yeah, there's that villager guy. You can level him up to level 20. But then he just transforms into one of the normal classes.
Right. So he gets like a free class before that to get his stats all
basically.
bumped.
Pushing him to level 20 is incredibly hard, but once you do it, Donald becomes the most unstoppable human being in Fire Emblem. I remember like a couple story chapters where I was like, well, I just want this over with. And I would put him in and only him. That's the kind of like unbalanced you could build that to.
Right, okay.
It was single-handedly the best thing ever.
I used to do that in Tactics Advance 1, actually, where I had this one really fast character who I put in on their own. So they were really high level, way faster than everyone else. And because I only used them, they were the only ones who leveled up. So everyone else kept the average level of my enemies down. So they'd just go around like one-shotting in everyone before anyone else could make a move on them. It was kind of fun, but very unbalanced.
Yeah. Balance is always kind of tricky in games like this. especially games where grinding is enabled.
Hmm.
Like you can just like level to ridiculous proportions.
Yeah.
So trying to counter that and trying to balance it is a thin line to walk.
That reminds me, this is so much less stressful than XCOM. Oh my god, so much less stressful.
Is it? It's just because it's like radically tonally different, huh? It's
Well,
like a lot more colorful and cheery.
not just that though. I think more importantly than that is the gameplay aspect of it. Of you are not driven forward constantly. You can take your time. You can pick quests, and you know, one, it's going to be this difficult because they've got a number rank, and also if you fail it, it will come around again. You cannot fuck yourself up permanently by failing this quest or whatever. And
Right.
like some quests are repeatable and stuff. The game is not going to end if you just walk around forever or the enemies win or anything. Whereas in XCOM, that absolutely would happen. You would lose if you just don't do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's so that makes it way less stressful for me. I also expect, because this is how it was done in Tactics Advance 1, that once you end the story, you can just keep playing. Because in Tactics Advance 1 you could, and then there were like a bunch of secret characters you could unlock after the story, which was kind of neat. So I'm expecting there's something similar, but that's many hours down the line. But yeah, I really like that. And also, as far as I know, I might be able to get like, I don't know if I can get a bunch of new recruits and then only use them for a while or something. I don't know how easy that would be to do. The hint I've seen in game is that like different races are available in different areas at different times of the year if you're trying to recruit them. So it might be difficult to fast forward time that quickly. But like, I could. I could just not accept any quests and then just walk around the overworld to pass time for a while until it's autumn or whatever.
Mm.
And there'd be no penalties for that. So I like that.
Yeah, I kind of dig it. Uh, trying to think what else I have been playing this week. Maybe I'll hit this instead. Do you ever just like frequently get urges to play just kind of like random games that are sitting in your library? You see it's like, I remember that game. I should play it again.
Usually I
And
don't get that prompted by seeing it in my library, but I do get those crazy urges sometimes, yeah. I mean, that's what's got me to order this game that I've been playing.
I mean, yeah, fair. Um,
And
I think.
hell, XCOM. What are we talking about, right? It's
Oh yeah,
November.
it's
My
November.
tactics
You,
urges.
they have come back
Yeah, that's why I was
in
playing
full
XCOM the last few
force.
weeks.
I wonder. I wonder if you would enjoy Invisible Ink.
I've got it. Yeah, I haven't actually played as much as I expected to. It is fun,
Mm,
definitely. It's been a little while since I picked it up, but I think I didn't really click with the outside combat version, where it's kind of you've got a short campaign, and over that time you need to build up enough resources to then do the final mission. That
right.
bit I wasn't hugely into, but the actual um, intermission stuff where you're sneaking around trying to do, I found that was really fun, like puzzle-like kind of gameplay because it's a
Yeah.
tactics stealth game, which is a really interesting idea.
On the note of stealth games, I actually need to return to Hitman and play the final two episodes still.
So yeah,
I might need to kick my own ass
they're both
into
out now,
gear.
aren't they?
Yeah, they are both out. The first season has concluded. That's actually like an interesting note. They are calling it Hitman Complete First Season. So something like every indication so far points to them doing a second season of Hitman,
Hmm.
which yes, absolutely. Um it's not really something that's been done before in games is the thing.
Yeah, season pass is typically like for this game, but because the name, as I understand it, was taken from actual sports games things
Yeah, from like sports
rather
and
than like
TV
TV.
maybe.
Whereas this seems more like like they're thinking of season in the TV term.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
think I think that's always been the promise of that. Like when I think of a season, the first thing I think of is a TV season and how most digital retailers allow you to buy a season pass to a given TV show.
Although, wait, do they?
Yeah,
Oh,
like you
okay. I've never, until right this very moment, heard the term season pass referring to TV.
um well, you can buy like season passes from like iTunes or from the Windows Store or wherever for like The
Okay.
Walking Dead
I just didn't
or
know that.
yeah.
So
And then you get episodes as they air.
I've always associated, before it was a gaming term, the phrase season pass, I've always only associated with sport before that. So that's why it's like, well, if you get a season pass, like you get to see all the games in a tournament or whatever, however sports works.
The other
So
the
for
other thing
games,
that
it's like all the DLC for the game.
the other thing I associate it with is water parks.
Oh yeah, theme parks and stuff, yeah.
Yep, just
Although that's more like a year pass or something, isn't it? Is that what they call
no,
it? I
it's
don't know.
it's
No,
it's
season
actually
pass, yeah.
surprisingly frequently called just a season
Yeah,
pass.
no, year pass doesn't sound right now that I say it.
I mean, like a yearly pass, I guess. Sure, why not? But typically, they're only open for a season,
Hmm,
at least in America/Canada.
right. I've only been to ones in Australia, one of which has now had that horrible accident a week or so ago.
I'm
Oh
cutting
yeah,
that.
yeah, sure,
I'm cutting that from the show.
go for it. That's
Um,
just amusing.
yeah. Yeah. I find it interesting though that we might actually get like season 2, and it might be just on the same executable. Like you might just have to have that first season of Hitman, and then you can get the second one, which like adds up. Um, I think I would appreciate that approach as well
What
because
requiring
having
you that you own all the first season before you can get any of season two?
maybe not that so much, but having it all under one executable, having it all
Hmm.
in one roof. Like, I think the model that they would shift to would be like, okay, so we're starting season 2. Here's season 2, episode 1. You can buy it for $20. Here's the rest of the pass. You can buy it for, like 60. This is New Zealand dollars, by the way, so if that sounds outrageous, don't worry. Um, so it's like, cool, that's all set up. And then you can also get season 1 at like a discounted price, but we're not really doing so much with it, I guess. But I think it would always be kind of putting the focus on whatever the current season is. I mean, the only other games that I can think of that actually like have multiple seasons, but not like multiple season passes, are Rocket League, Overwatch, Diablo.
Um, it's sort of episodic games, a little bit, because it's
There's
not
only
really DLC,
been
but it's multiple things coming out.
there's only really been one game that's done it, and that's The Walking Dead. It's the only game I can think of that's had like a explicit like season 2, and it was a whole separate thing.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know the ones that have got season one and season two. Just thinking of
Apparently,
ones that have
Sam and
multiple
Max
things come out.
did.
I don't really know anything about that franchise.
It's another Telltale game, so like that adds up. They had Sam and Max season 1, Sam and Max season 2, and then Sam and Max: The Devil's Playhouse.
Right.
I've never really played any of those games. They seemed charming. From the impressions that I've gotten from like Poker Night at the Inventory.
Hmm.
Oh, that game was fun. Oh no, I'm getting the urge to go back and play Poker Night at the Inventory. Oh no!
There you go. Just like you were talking about, right?
God damn it! I brought this on myself.
Yeah, I do get those urges sometimes. It's the most frequent and regular one is definitely the tactics thing, but like I've had it for the Sims and stuff before as well.
Mm.
Actually,
It's,
that
it's
reminds me. That's another thing that I really like about Tactics A2. The art is so nice. The pixel art.
Mm.
One thing that it has, which I've found stands apart from some other tactics games, is it's actually quite vertical. Um, in that everything has height and the height changes often. XCOM games have height, but it's like everything's flat and then there's cover and then there's like buildings. Whereas this is like, oh, you're on like rocky terrain, so here's some bits that are like ramping up and flat and stuff. One thing that's new in
Right.
Tactics A2 is some tiles are sloped. So they can be like height 5.5 and stuff on average. But just yeah, every area is so beautiful. It's really nice to look at.
Mm.
Um, and there's a lot of them as well. It seems like there's a lot more areas than there were in the first game. And the way the areas work is different as well. In the first game, there was this kind of weird thing where there was like a big grid of nodes, and every time you quote discovered unquote a new area, you would choose where on the grid it went. And if you got right types of areas next to each other, you get treasure, like 3 forests or something. And I got very confused by this and felt like I was doing it wrong. They don't do that
Mm.
anymore, which I'm happy about. Now they've got like a two-tiered thing where you've got like a world map, which is kind of like that node by node thing where not everything's regularly shaped and you just go between areas. And each time you go between an area there, a day passes. And then each area has within it a little area map where there's like 4 to 6 nodes or something that you can go between, each of which has its own special map whenever you got a quest there.
Mm.
So and time doesn't pass when you're going between those. So I really like the way they've done that new map system. It's I think it's much nicer than their last game's one. But just yeah, they all look so nice. It's really good.
I'm thinking about now. I'm thinking about Owlboy again as well.
Oh yeah, it's out now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It looks amazing.
It does. It really does.
It's getting generally good reviews too from critics.
Mhm.
So it's looking more and more like I might have to pick it up.
How much is it? Do you know?
It's 30 New Zealand dollars, I want to say.
Oh yeah,
Man, that art style is just
it's
it's
so nice,
phenomenal.
right?
And on a non-pixel art style as well, like Dishonored 2 also looks just incredible.
Dishonored has got a really interesting art style, just in terms of its like deformation stuff on the characters, right? They've
Yeah,
got
and
kind of like
it's
big hands and long faces. It's kind of comic book style, I think, almost. Not in terms of the colors, but in terms of the proportions.
I would describe it as very painterly.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Not that you can see strokes, but I can understand what you mean when you say that.
Oh, you could definitely see strokes in Dishonored 1.
Really? I never noticed
Yeah,
that.
I did. Maybe I just paid more attention to like the aesthetic. But you could see all the strokes and stuff. I thought it was really fascinating.
I didn't never notice that at all.
Another game that did a more like
Actually,
painterly style.
I do have one big problem with Dishonored, and that's they spell Dishonored wrong. Sorry, go
It's
on.
the American spelling.
Exactly.
The other game I'm thinking of with like a real gorgeous painterly style, a little bit more watercolor. This one, Child of Light.
Sorry. I haven't played that. My flatmate's got it, but I haven't played it.
I heard great things about it when it first launched.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many games that have this really, really good painterly style. Monster Hunter has a little bit of it on like the monsters themselves, especially on the high res renders. There's some aspects of like a real painterly style. Okami is probably the first one that jumps to a lot of people's minds. God, I just love that. I love I love video games
I've
and
never
how
really seen that in
diverse
Monster
our
Hunter
art styles are.
either.
You can actually
Yeah.
you can see it pretty clearly, especially on the renders.
I
But
never have.
oh, okay. I'll have to show it to you at some point. But yeah, all these games just have such cool, varied styles, and I'm glad that they are all allowed to exist.
Yeah, art style has such a big impact on me in games as well. I find that it can, like, even with everything else staying the same, an art style can make a game hit or miss for me, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Have you played Firewatch? Yeah,
No, no.
that's a really good one. I would recommend it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's just a matter of picking it up, and also I've got a queue of games in the same vein as that I haven't worked through yet.
That's fair. What have you got in that queue right now anyway?
Things like Life is Strange and Dreamfall chapters.
You are missing out by not playing Life is Strange.
I've got
What are
it.
you doing?
I've got it
Play it
there,
right
but
now.
like I'm doing other things. When
Hang,
I've got a craving for it, I'll do
hang up the call and play it right
it.
now. Please don't actually. I need you here to finish it with me. Please.
I'm still. Final Fantasy Tactics A2 does not have a story I take super seriously, so I'm like that, and that's what's allowed me to play it right now because I'm still not ready for another important story yet.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Life is Strange has got some pretty tough stuff to deal with. It's a really good game though.
That's what I've heard. That's why I wanted to pick it up.
Uh, all right, and with that, I think it's gonna do it for us
hmm
for this week. Mark, what are you looking forward to playing this week? I assume more A2?
Yeah. Basically, that's the only thing I've got planned. I don't know. I might end up picking something else up. I think I've possibly stopped my XCOM 2 playthrough just because it started getting stressful again, and I've got something else to scratch that tactics itch.
Right, for
Um,
sure.
I don't know if there's anything else I'll pick up in the coming week. When you've got a new game and you want to binge on it a bit as well, it kind of pushes the rest of them out. What about you?
This week I'm looking forward to probably fiddling around with the Mafia 3 patch that just dropped.
Oh, yeah.
More Fire Emblem Awakening is sounding like a good time to me.
hmm
Um, Torchlight is part of my weekly playthrough.
Oh, yeah, how's that going?
It's going pretty good, actually.
Nice. When are the streams again?
The streams are Tuesdays at 8 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time. They're archived on my YouTube channel
Isn't
afterwards
that New
as
Zealand Daylight Time?
well. No, it's just New Zealand Standard Time.
Because we're in NZDT right now.
Uh, details. Details.
I wouldn't want people to miss it because they had the wrong time. That's all.
Yeah,
It's daylight saving.
I've said it's like New Zealand Standard Time, and people have been like, oh yeah, that's like midnight for us. Oh yeah, this is XYZ time. I don't know if I can make it most of the time. Has been the answer, but if you can make it, why not? Come on out, party with me.
Where is that?
Twitch.tv/cockatielcutie.
Cool.
Where can people find you on the internet, though, Mark?
I'm on Twitter at Honest Universe, and I blog occasionally, although not about video games, at honestuniverse.com. What about you?
You can find me basically everywhere as Cockatiel Cutie. I am on Twitter as Cockatiel Cutie. You can find my blog at bird.school, which is it's the best URL. It really is. Mark,
Yeah.
where can people find the show on Twitter?
At PauseCast Show, which is a bit of a running theme in how you can contact us.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/podcast show. You can find us on SoundCloud, SoundCloud.com. Wow, I got Facebook on the brain, I guess.
I guess.
SoundCloud.com/podcast show. You can find us on Pocket Casts, pca.st/pausecast. You can find us on iTunes, bit.ly/pausecast-iTunes. All right. that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you very much for listening, and we will talk to you again next week.
Bye.